What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an EP review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new EP from the band Hellgoat, entitled End of Man. This is released on Boris Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very primitive, crusty, and raw style of black metal. I'm a relative newcomer to this band, and honestly, the first time I had heard of them was earlier in the month of April. I believe this band was doing a selected string of tour dates, and unfortunately, I was unable to catch their live performance here locally, but hearing about this band just gave me more of an excuse to check out what this band had to offer and look up some of their stuff. And they have the black metal mentality. They have the look, the feel, the atmosphere, the stench of rotting dead flesh in their live performances. That's the kind of black metal band they set out to be, and in doing so, they've released a bunch of demos, splits, EP releases, and a couple of full lengths. When it comes to the full lengths, they have albums such as Blasphemy from the Serpent's Tongue, and the one that I've recently been listening to a lot of, Death Conquers All, which was some really, really amazing stuff. And an EP that came out the following year entitled Anointed in Blood and Ash. Just some really, really awesome stuff, and I really, really was enjoying what I heard from this band. Now we get this latest offering. It's only 2 tracks, and it clocks in at around 9 minutes in length. And honestly, this EP pretty much begins and ends very, very quickly. And honestly, this EP definitely leaves you wanting more. It leaves you wanting more, and it leaves you it pretty much, it makes you ask yourself a lot of questions like, what direction is this band going to be taking in the future? What kind of style and substance is this going to have for their future releases, or maybe even their next full length? And pretty much there's a lot of ideas and thoughts going on within this short amount of time of this EP. I mean, the opening track, Demonic Worship of the Horned Beast, starts off very, very noisy and almost electronic in a way. A little bit of a spoken word style of intro, and then you get on to the actual black metal music going on. You can definitely tell it's a black metal track when you hear the bass guitar tone being very, very loud and audible within the mix. It's very, very powerful sounding. And then you just get on to the absolute craziness. You get some frenzied riffs, chaotic blast beats, screamed vitriolic vocal stylings. It's just insane, the amount of craziness that goes on in that one particular track. And I would have to say that's the one track I prefer the most between the 2 tracks. It's Demonic Worship of the Horned Beast and the title track, End of Man. But going back to the first track, I think it's absolutely nuts. The amount of craziness going on in that one particular song is just something that you can barely keep up with. I mean, the main highlights to me are definitely the riffs. Very, very loud, very, very obnoxious, and very raw. I mentioned that this is a primitive sounding band, and they definitely showcase why they're so primitive and raw. It's disgusting. I love the vocal stylings that that the vocals bring here. Very shrieky, very throaty, very ugly, high-pitched. You get some low growls that are intertwined within the high-style vocals. I think it's really, really crazy. And then it pretty much ends on a somewhat quiet note and going back on into the spoken word material. Then we get to the track End of Man. Pretty much, it's just like the first track, but it's just a little bit shorter, and it flies by at a quicker pace. Same routine, pretty much a collage of very, very dominant, ugly-sounding guitar riffs, very audible bass, a lot of loudness within the drum mix. That's one thing I should point out about this album's production style. I want to say that there are some situations where I felt that the mix could have benefited better when it comes to the drums. I can hear the drums a little bit more than I do the vocals. But that's really nothing that feels too distracting from what you're already listening to. You already are getting a feeling of what this band has to offer by listening to the 2 tracks that are on here. And going back to End of Man, I think it's another crazy, crazy song. I prefer the first track more than I do the second track, but honestly, like I said, listening to this particular EP, if you're a newcomer to Hellgoat, it will end up giving you a lot of questions to ask yourself, like what's next? What's going to be the next particular step for this band to take? I really wish this EP didn't end as soon as it began, but honestly, it gives you a great idea of what will be soon to come from Hellgoat. I don't know whether they will incorporate more raw black metal into their sound, or if they're trying to be somewhat experimental. I think it's really, really interesting, and I'm very, very excited for this band's future in the long run. So, yeah, if you're into raw black metal, US black metal, or any sort of black metal stylings, Hellgoat is definitely a band for you to be listening to. I will leave you a link in the description box to the Boris Records Bandcamp page where you can stream this EP in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can buy it relatively cheap digitally, and it is available on a 7-inch vinyl. I believe that most of the copies are on a black 7-inch vinyl. I believe there were colored versions, but I'm pretty sure those are sold out at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. So, if you're into raw black metal, definitely give Hellgoat a shot. Again, the EP is End of Man by Hellgoat. This is released on Boris Records. Check it out. And as far as the score is concerned, for the time being, I'm going to give this a very strong 7.5 out of 10, maybe even an 8 later on. It's way too short of an EP. I thought that it could have gone on a little bit longer, but for what is offered here, it's just a frightening example of what's going to be soon to come from this band. So, support Hellgoat. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for joining my channel, and until the next time, Armijo out.